Harness racing is a sport and a business, but the horses can easily become part of the family, and owners will often go to great lengths to keep their athletes happy and healthy. A wonderful example of that was a story written by Charlene Sharp and published recently in Hoofbeats magazine about horse owner Nicky Ratledge and her young foal. The baby's name is Truthaboutnickster. The filly sire is Total Truth, and she's out of a mare named Keystone Sable, who Nicky also owned and turned into a riding horse after the mare's retirement. So what was the story about in this national publication? Let's hear from Nicky herself.
Well, I had an article about my horse, Truthaboutnickster, in the Hoofbeats just recently for September. It was about that she colicked when she was 4 months old, and Dr. Hannah Butt came out to look at her, and she was pretty much dead, he said, and said, you need to get her to New Bolton. There's nothing I can do because she's 4 months old, he said. So I took her to New Bolton, and right away they were like, oh, this horse, there's something wrong when they ultrasounded her. So they hurried up, took her down to the big ultrasound, shaved her whole body, and found that her colon displaced, which is called, it went down in the nephrosplenic area near the spleen. It's just like this small little area that they have because their organs are floating everywhere in their body. And when she was in pain, because at 4 months old, babies don't know what pain is, she was rolling and crashing, and it just said right into the little space. And so they had to either wait for it to move back or do surgery. Well, a day later, they called me up and they said, you won't believe it, it started moving back out of the area. So I said, that's awesome. And then they called me back the next day and said, everything's moved back, and we're gonna just keep her for the rest of the week just to make sure that it doesn't move back, because sometimes it can go back, through if they get sick or something. And most horses, when they stress like that, will get really sick. And so I just left her there for the whole week, and I went and visited her, of course, because she's my little baby. They took very good care of her. I will always suggest go to New Bolton. They also told me if it happens again, they'll put a little mesh screen in her, but if they did that, they weren't sure if she would make it as a racehorse. And they told me to make sure that I watch all of her levels of stress, the weather changing, and changing her feet can all make a horse colic, and you never know when that little colon is going to move back through that little space. She is doing awesome. She's coming back from a great recovery, and hopefully we can get her back racing as a 4-year-old.
I think Nicky said it best in Hoofbeats with the quote, horses, they'll come back if they have the heart. She has the heart. She was my first foal. I want to prove to people you don't have to give up on a horse. They will give you what you give them. I love that, and thank you so much, Nicky, for telling your story.